The evacuation alarms had been screaming for 3 hours now. Vice Admiral Torin watched another transport ship pull away from Station Harmony, its engines leaving blue trails against the black void. 200 civilian vessels had already fled. Hundreds more waited their turn. His homeworld was dying. The Dalrathi Empire, which had stood for 6,000 years across 400 worlds, now controlled only 47 systems. In 14 months, the Shrike Collective had consumed everything else. Torin pressed his hand against the observation window. His reflection stared back at him, blue-gray skin looking more gray than blue these days. The dark navy uniform hung looser on his frame. Nobody ate much anymore. Food was for civilians and soldiers. Commanders could wait. "Sir, another cluster just fell." The communication officer's voice cracked. "The Meridian systems, all 5 worlds, gone in 6 hours. 6 hours. It used to take the Shrike months to conquer a single planet. Now they moved like a plague, each victory making them faster and smarter. The hive mind learned from every battle, adapted to every tactic. Fight them with plasma weapons, and within weeks their ships grew resistant. Use kinetic missiles, and they developed point defense systems overnight. The Dalrathi military doctrine, perfected over millennia, meant nothing against an enemy that treated war like an equation to solve." "How long until they reach us?" Torin asked, though he already knew. 3 days, sir, maybe 4 if we're lucky." Luck, what a strange concept to rely on now. The Dalrathi had never needed luck. They had superior technology, brilliant tactics, and an unbroken chain of victories stretching back centuries. But the Shrike did not care about history. They cared about efficiency. And efficiently, they were erasing the Dalrathi from existence. High Chancellor Myra's face appeared on the holographic display. She looked exhausted, her formal purple robes hanging awkwardly, as if she had forgotten how to wear them properly. "Torin, we need options. Anything, I don't care how desperate." He wanted to tell her the truth. There were no options. The mathematics were simple. 47 worlds could not defeat an empire of 200, especially when that empire shared a single mind and learned from every mistake instantly. Instead, he said, "We're sending distress signals to every known civilization. Someone might respond." The Kelthari Confederation refused. The Prior Assembly refused. The Syndicate worlds won't even answer our calls. Myra's voice dropped to barely a whisper. "We're alone." "Not entirely. We've detected signals from some outer rim species. Primitive civilizations mostly, but they're out there." "Primitive?" Myra laughed, a hollow sound. "What good are primitives against the Shrike? We had the finest fleet in the galaxy and we're losing." Torin had no answer for that. He watched another transport ship vanish into faster-than-light travel, carrying 10,000 refugees to an uncertain future. The station would be empty by tomorrow. Then the Shrike would arrive and convert the entire facility into another organic factory for their war machine. His tactical officer approached, holding a data tablet. "Sir, we're getting a response to the distress signal." "From whom?" The Kelthari changed their minds. "No, sir. It's from a species called humans. According to the database, they only achieved faster-than-light travel 80 years ago. Their territory is in the outer rim, far from the conflict zone. Tell them we appreciate the sentiment, but we don't need prayers or condolences." "Sir, they're not offering prayers. They say they're sending ships." Torin turned to look at the officer directly. "Ships? What kind of ships could a primitive species possibly send that would make any difference?" "Unknown, sir." The message was brief, just coordinates and an estimated arrival time. 18 hours. 18 hours. The Shrike would arrive in 72. Even if these humans brought 1,000 vessels, it would not matter. Nothing mattered anymore except buying time for the civilians to escape. The next day passed in controlled chaos. More evacuations, more reports of fallen worlds, more desperate calculations that all led to the same conclusion. The Dalrathi Empire was finished. Torin had not slept. He stood in the same spot by the observation window, watching the stars, when the sensors detected an incoming vessel. It dropped out of faster-than-light travel with far less elegance than a Dalrathi ship. The jump was rough, creating visible distortions in space. The vessel itself looked like something a child might build from scrap metal. Asymmetrical hull plates in different shades of gray and rust, welded patches covering obvious damage, 3 different engine types clustered at the rear. It was easily a third the size of the smallest Dalrathi cruiser. "Sir, they're hailing us, audio only. Their translation software is crude but functional." "Put them through." Static crackled across the bridge speakers. Then a female voice, speaking Dalrathi with an accent that made every word sound slightly wrong. "This is cargo hauler Big Betty. You folks need some help." The entire bridge fell silent. Torin looked at his officers, who looked back at him with equal confusion. This was what answered their distress call, a single cargo ship with a ridiculous name. "Big Betty, this is Vice Admiral Torin of the Dalrathi Imperial Fleet. We appreciate your response, but I'm afraid the situation is beyond civilian assistance. We're facing a military threat of extraordinary magnitude." "Yeah, we caught some of your distress signal. Something about a hive mind eating your empire. Sounds rough. We're not military, but we brought supplies. Medicine, food, tools. Figured you could use them." "That's very kind, but we're evacuating the station. You should leave before the enemy arrives." "How long do we have?" "Less than 3 days." Another pause. Then the voice came back, sounding thoughtful. 3 days, okay. Well, we came all this way. Might as well dock and see if we can help. Besides, our captain wants to meet you. She says any species polite enough to say please in their distress signal deserves at least a conversation. Torin realized he had indeed included a formal plea for assistance in the message. Dalrathi manners persisted even during extinction. "Very well, Big Betty. Dock at Port 17. But understand that we cannot guarantee your safety." "Safety's overrated. See you soon." The channel closed. Torin watched the crewed vessel maneuver toward the docking port, its movements inefficient but ultimately successful. Somewhere in the back of his mind, he wondered what kind of species would fly into a war zone in a patched-together cargo ship just to deliver supplies and have a conversation. He supposed he would find out shortly. Diana Walsh had seen worse docking ports, but not many. Station Harmony was beautiful in the way things are beautiful when they know they are dying. Everything too clean, too organized, too final. The Dalrathi crew members moved with quiet efficiency, like people packing up a house before a funeral. She walked down the docking ramp with her crew behind her. Russ, her engineer, carried 2 heavy equipment cases. Dr. Amy Foster had her medical scanner already out, taking readings of everything. The Dalrathi greeting party waited at the bottom, all tall and elegant in their dark uniforms, with skin that reminded Diana of Earth's twilight sky. The one in front had more silver on his uniform than the others. He stood very straight, very proper, and very tired. "Vice Admiral Torin," he said with a small bow, "thank you for coming, though I must repeat this situation is extremely dangerous." Diana offered her hand. Torin looked at it for a moment before understanding the gesture and shaking it. His grip was firm but careful, like he was afraid he might break her fingers. "Captain Diana Walsh. This is Russell Thompson, my engineer, and Dr. Amy Foster, our science officer. We're freelance traders from Redstone Colony." "A colony?" Torin's expression shifted slightly. "Not your military." "Humans don't really have a unified military. Earth does, but the colonies are independent. We handle our own problems." "I see." Torin did not see, Diana could tell. "Then why come here? This conflict does not concern your people." "Not yet. But according to our long-range scouts, the Shrike are expanding in all directions. Give them a few years and they'll reach human space. Figured we should learn about them now rather than later. Torin gestured for them to follow. They walked through corridors that were two empty, past rooms that had been cleared out in a hurry. Diana noticed blast marks on some walls, hastily repaired. "Tell me about the Shrike," she said. "They are a hive mind. Billions of individual organisms sharing a single consciousness. They convert conquered worlds into organic factories, processing entire populations into raw material. Their ships are partially alive, grown rather than built. They adapt to any tactic within weeks." Russ whistled low. "That's a neat trick. How do they do the adaptation part?" "We believe the hive mind analyzes combat data in real time. Every battle makes them more efficient. We've thrown everything at them. Plasma weapons, kinetic missiles, energy shields, tactical formations perfected over centuries. Nothing works for long." They entered a large room filled with holographic displays. Star maps covered every surface, showing the Dalrathi Empire shrinking like ice under a hot sun. Red markers indicated Shrike territory. There was a lot of red. Dr. Foster moved to the nearest display, studying the data. "Have you tried biological warfare? The Shrike are partially organic, but they don't respond to conventional bioweapons. Their adaptation process extends to diseases and toxins." "What about chaos?" Diana asked. Torin looked at her. "I don't understand the question." "Chaos, randomness. You said they adapt to tactics. Do they adapt to things that have no pattern?" "War is not random, Captain Walsh. War is strategic, mathematical. The side with superior resources, tactics, and coordination wins. The Shrike understand this better than anyone." Diana smiled. "You've never fought humans, have you?" Before Torin could respond, alarms blared throughout the station. Red lights flashed. A voice over the speakers announced something in the Dalrathi language, rapid and urgent. "What's happening?" Diana asked. Torin's face had gone pale, making his skin almost white. "The Shrike, they're early, they're here now." Everyone ran to the observation windows. Diana saw them immediately. Ships that looked like someone's nightmare of insects and machines fused together. Black hulls with purple veins. Glowing green lights pulsing like heartbeats. There were dozens of them, moving in perfect formation. "How long until they're in weapons range?" she asked. 12 minutes, maybe less." Torin turned to his officers. "Evacuate all remaining civilians. All military vessels prepare for combat." "How many ships do you have left?" 17, against 43 Shrike vessels. Torin's voice was flat, matter-of-fact. "We'll buy the civilians as much time as possible." Diana pulled out her communication device. "Big Betty, you reading this?" "Loud and clear, Captain," her pilot's voice crackled back. "Those are some ugly ships. We leaving or staying?" "Staying. Contact the Colonial Defense Network. Tell them we need every ship they can spare sent to these coordinates immediately." "Every ship, Diana, that'll take days. We don't have days." "Then tell them to hurry, and prepare Big Betty for combat." Russ stared at her. "We're a cargo hauler. We have 2-point defense guns and a really loud horn." "Then we'll use what we have. Amy, can you analyze those Shrike ships? Find any weaknesses?" Dr. Foster was already working, her scanner feeding data into her tablet. "Their hulls are partially organic, carbon-based, silicon-enhanced structure. The green lights are bioluminescent energy distribution. If I had to guess, those veins are how they share power and information across the ship." "So if we cut the veins, we cut the ship's coordination." "Theoretically, but you'd need precision weapons to target something that specific." Diana turned to Torin. "What's your most accurate weapon system?" "Our lance batteries, focused plasma beams. They can hit targets at extreme range with minimal deviation." "Good, and what's your most destructive weapon?" "Fusion torpedoes, but the Shrike have adapted to them. Their shields absorb the blast and convert it to energy. What if they didn't see the torpedoes coming? Torin frowned. They have advanced sensors, they see everything. They see organized attacks, coordinated strikes, things that make tactical sense. Diana pulled up a display, sketching out ideas with her fingers. What if we hit them with something that makes no sense at all? I don't follow. You said they're efficient. They adapt to efficient tactics, so we use inefficient tactics, wasteful ones, random ones. We make them think we're idiots. We'll still lose. Maybe, but we'll last longer than 12 minutes. And maybe, just maybe, we'll confuse them enough to buy time for help to arrive. Torin looked at her for a long moment. Then he looked at his officers, then back at the approaching Shrike fleet. Explain your plan. The Dalrathi officers gathered around the tactical table looked like Diana had suggested they fight the Shrike with rocks and harsh language. Commander Petrick, who commanded one of the cruisers, kept shaking his head. This is madness, he said for the third time. We have protocols, tested formations, proven strategies. And the Shrike have beaten all of them, Diana replied. Your proven strategies got you down to 17 ships. So your solution is to abandon strategy entirely. No, my solution is to use strategy they can't predict. Russ pulled up a holographic display showing both fleets. The Dalrathi ships formed a neat defensive line. The Shrike approached in perfect geometric formation. See that? Russ pointed at the Shrike formation. That's efficiency. That's optimization. They're minimizing travel time while maximizing firing angles. It's beautiful if you ignore the whole trying to kill us part. And your point? Petrick asked. My point is they think like a computer. Input, processing, output. They see your defensive line, calculate the optimal attack pattern, and execute. Takes them maybe 3 seconds. 3 seconds is faster than we can react. Exactly, so we don't react. We act first and we act weird. Diana expanded the display. Here's what we do. Your ships stay in formation, tight and organized just like they expect. Draw their attention, make them focus on you. While you do what? Big Betty will hide in the asteroid field on the station's far side. When the Shrike commit to attacking your formation, we'll hit them from behind with everything we've got. Everything you've got is 2-point defense guns. And a cargo bay full of industrial equipment, mining explosives, welding fuel, compressed gas canisters, all of it very flammable and very willing to explode if motivated properly. Torin studied the plan. You want to use cargo containers as weapons. Yep, we'll launch them on ballistic trajectories. No guidance systems, no predictable patterns, just dumb projectiles full of boom. The Shrike will destroy them easily. Some of them, sure. But can they destroy 100 containers all coming from different angles? Can they calculate which ones are explosive and which ones are just trash? Because I'm planning to mix in a bunch of actual garbage to really confuse things. This is insane, Petrick said. Insane is doing the same thing 17 times and expecting different results, Diana shot back. Sir, with respect, you've been fighting smart. Maybe it's time to fight stupid. Torin was quiet for a moment. Outside the windows, the Shrike fleet grew closer. 8 minutes now. If we do this and fail, we all die. If you do what you've been doing, you all die anyway. At least this way, you die trying something new. She has a point, Dr. Foster said. She had been analyzing the Shrike ships continuously. I've been watching their movement patterns. They adjust course every time one of your ships changes position. They're reactive, predictive, but I haven't seen them do anything random. Because random is inefficient, Torin said quietly. Right, which means they might not know how to handle it. Torin looked at each of his officers in turn. Some looked doubtful, others looked desperate. All of them looked tired of losing. Very well, we'll try it your way, Captain Walsh. Commanders maintain defensive formation Alpha 7. Prepare all lance batteries. When the Shrike enter range, fire in standard targeting patterns. You want us to fight normally? Petrick asked. I want them to think we're fighting normally. Let them believe they understand what we're doing. Then Captain Walsh will show them they don't understand at all. Diana grinned. Now you're getting it. Come on, Russ, Amy. We've got about 6 minutes to turn Big Betty into a garbage cannon. They ran back to the ship. The docking clamps released and Big Betty pulled away from the station, engines struggling to build speed. The ship was never meant for combat. She was built to haul mining equipment through safe, regulated space lanes. Her hull was thick enough to handle small debris, nothing more. Russ worked frantically in the cargo bay, strapping explosives to containers. This is either brilliant or suicidal. Why not both? Diana called from the bridge. She steered the ship around the station, keeping the massive structure between Big Betty and the approaching Shrike. The asteroid field beyond offered perfect cover, dozens of rocks large enough to hide behind. Dr. Foster monitored the Dalrathi fleet on her scanner. The Shrike are in weapons range. Dalrathi ships are firing. Through the viewscreen, Diana saw brilliant blue plasma lances shoot across the void. The Dalrathi formation held perfectly, each ship firing in coordinated volleys. It was beautiful, precise, and exactly what the Shrike expected. The Shrike ships shifted, their formation splitting and reforming in seconds. They returned fire with weapons that looked organic, pools in green energy beams that seemed to breathe. Several Dalrathi shields flared under the impact. They're adapting already, Dr. Foster said, adjusting their shield frequencies to match Dalrathi weapons. In 30 seconds, those plasma lances will be 40% less effective. Torin, you reading this? Diana spoke into the comm. Confirmed, shield efficiency dropping. They're learning our patterns. Then break the pattern. All ships random evasive maneuvers. No coordination, just dodge however you want. That will create gaps in our defensive line. Good, let them through. Make them think they're winning. A pause, then Torin's voice calm and clear. All ships abandon formation. Evasive maneuvers at individual commander discretion. The neat Dalrathi line dissolved. Ships scattered in different directions, some diving, some climbing, some rolling. It looked like panic. It looked like defeat. The Shrike formation tightened, pressing the attack. They moved deeper, pursuing the scattered Dalrathi vessels, their formation becoming more aggressive and more concentrated. They're taking the bait, Diana whispered. Come on just a little further. The Shrike fleet pushed past the station, chasing the Dalrathi ships. Their rear was exposed now, unprotected. They had committed everything to the attack, confident in their superiority. Diana activated the launch sequence. Russ, we're up. Cargo bay doors open, launching in 3, 2, 1. Big Betty's entire cargo hold vomited containers into space. 100 of them, all on different trajectories, all tumbling and spinning. Some were packed with mining explosives. Some held pressurized fuel cells. Some contained absolutely nothing but scrap metal and coffee grounds. The containers spread out like a swarm, approaching the Shrike rear fleet from every possible angle. Let's see you calculate that, Diana said. The Shrike hive mind noticed the containers exactly 3 seconds after launch. For a consciousness that processed millions of calculations per moment, 3 seconds was an eternity, but the containers made no sense. They had no propulsion systems, no guidance, no targeting computers. They tumbled through space on ballistic trajectories that followed no tactical pattern. Some moved fast, some moved slow. Some spun wildly, others drifted steady. The hive mind analyzed each one, trying to determine threat priority. That analysis took 4 more seconds. The first container hit a Shrike cruiser's port side. It was packed with mining charges designed to crack asteroids. Against a biomechanical hull, The effect was spectacular. The explosion tore through organic tissue and mechanical components alike, green blood and sparking circuitry spraying into the void. The hive mind registered the threat. Point defense systems across the fleet activated, targeting the incoming containers. Precise energy beams lanced out, destroying dozens of containers in seconds. Half of those containers were empty. They burst apart in clouds of frozen coffee grounds, spare parts, and packing material. No explosions, no damage, just garbage. The hive mind recalculated. It had wasted defensive fire on decoys. New priority: identify which containers were actual threats, but there was no pattern. No way to distinguish explosive containers from empty ones without destroying them first. More containers impacted. A fuel cell hit a Shrike destroyer's engine section, rupturing and igniting in a white-hot fireball. Two more containers, both empty, bounced harmlessly off shields. Another mining charge detonated against a cruiser's organic hull section, and the ship shuddered as nerve-like systems overloaded. "It's working," Dr. Foster said, watching her scanner in disbelief. "They don't know how to respond. Their processing time is increasing with every impact." Diana watched the Shrike fleet struggle. Ships broke formation, trying to dodge the container swarm while maintaining their attack on the Dalrathi. Some vessels succeeded. Others took multiple hits, their hulls bleeding green as systems failed. Tauren, they're distracted, hit them now. The Dalrathi fleet reformed with shocking speed. 17 ships came together in a new formation, this one tighter and more aggressive. Lance batteries fired in perfect synchronization, targeting the damaged Shrike vessels. Without the hive mind's full attention on defense, the Dalrathi weapons hit harder. Shields that should have adapted were slow to respond. Hulls that should have reinforced stayed vulnerable. 3 Shrike ships went dark, their biomechanical systems failing completely. The hive mind made a decision. It pulled ships back from the attack, repositioning to defend against the container threat. The perfect geometric formation dissolved into something reactive and uncertain. "They're confused," Russ reported from the cargo bay. "I've never seen anything like it. They keep changing tactics every few seconds." Commander Petrick's voice came over the comm, excited for the first time Diana had heard. "They're adapting to non-existent patterns. Every time they adjust, we hit them somewhere else." Diana allowed herself a small smile. "Keep the pressure on. Don't give them time to figure it out." Big Betty maneuvered through the asteroid field, using the rocks for cover while Russ prepared a second volley. This time, he had a new idea. "Diana, what if we launch the containers with different velocities? Make some fast, some slow. The slow ones will arrive later, like a second wave." "Do it. Amy, what's the Shrike status?" Dr. Foster studied her readings. "Their communication patterns are chaotic. The hive mind is trying to coordinate the fleet, but it's processing too many variables. Ships are starting to act independently, which means they're losing cohesion." "Independent ships are weaker ships," Diana said. "Tauren, focus fire on any vessel that separates from the pack." "Understood. All ships, target isolated enemies." The battle developed a strange rhythm. Dalrathi ships would fire, then scatter before the Shrike could return effective fire. Big Betty would launch another container swarm from a new angle, forcing the Shrike to redirect defenses. The Shrike fleet, which had started the engagement in perfect formation, now looked scattered and reactive. It was working. Against all logic and military doctrine, it was actually working. Then Dr. Foster's scanner alarm shrieked. New contacts, multiple vessels dropping out of FTL. Diana's heart sank. Reinforcements. The Shrike had called for backup, and there was no way the humans and Dalrathi could handle more ships. But the ships that appeared were not Shrike vessels. They were human. Destroyer Wilson led the formation, her hull painted with the emblem of the Colonial Defense Network. Frigate Portsmouth followed, along with 3 converted cargo vessels similar to Big Betty. They were not elegant like Dalrathi ships or terrifying like Shrike vessels. They looked functional, practical, and very armed. "This is Commander Raymond Lee of the CDN Wilson. Sorry we're late. What we miss?" Diana laughed, pure relief flooding through her. "Just teaching some aliens that humans don't play fair. Welcome to the party." "We brought party favors." Wilson's weapons ports opened, revealing an arsenal that seemed excessive for a ship her size. Railguns, missile pods, and something new from the engineers. "We call them scattershot torpedoes. They're dumb, they're random, and they make a beautiful mess." "Sounds perfect. Torin, you want to coordinate with our new arrivals." Torin's voice held something Diana had not heard before. "Hope. Commander Lee, this is Vice Admiral Torin. We're currently employing unconventional tactics against the Shrike fleet." "Unconventional is our specialty. Wilson and Portsmouth will take the left flank. Cargo vessels follow Big Betty's lead. Let's show these hive-mind bastards what chaos looks like." The human ships spread out, each one moving independently. No formation, no coordination, just 8 vessels doing whatever their individual captains thought might work. Wilson fired railgun slugs in wide spreads. Portsmouth launched missiles that wobbled and wove like they were drunk. The cargo ships dumped more containers, these ones filled with scrap metal that exploded into clouds of shrapnel. The Shrike hive mind tried to adapt. It recalculated, it processed. But every time it thought it understood the pattern, the humans would do something completely different. Fire, then run. Run, then fire. Sometimes both, sometimes neither. There was no logic to predict. And slowly, impossibly, the Shrike fleet began to lose. Ships took damage faster than the hive mind could coordinate repairs. Defensive systems misfired, wasting energy on decoys. Offensive weapons targeted empty space because the human ships refused to stay where calculations said they should be. Diana watched a Shrike cruiser fire at where Big Betty had been 3 seconds ago, the energy beam passing through empty space. "I almost feel sorry for them. Almost." "Don't," Dr. Foster said. "According to these readings, they're still processing our tactics. Give them enough time and they'll figure out how to counter randomness." "Then we don't give them time. All human ships full assault, Dalrathi fleet with us." 25 ships against 40 Shrike vessels. The odds were still terrible, but for the first time in 14 months, the Dalrathi were winning. The battle lasted 4 hours. 4 hours of chaos that nobody could have predicted and nobody could completely control. It was beautiful in a terrible way, like watching a storm. Russ had gone through every container on Big Betty twice. Now he was loading the 3rd batch with whatever he could find. Cleaning supplies, food rations, spare uniforms. If it could fit in a container and wouldn't be missed, he launched it at the Shrike. "I just shot someone's lunch at an alien warship," he called to Diana. "This is either the best day of my life or I've completely lost it." "Both," Diana replied. "Keep launching." The Shrike fleet had lost 13 ships. The hive mind was adapting, but slowly. Too slowly. Every time it optimized defenses against one attack type, 3 different attacks would come from new angles. The human-Dalrathi alliance had turned warfare into something the Shrike could not compute, organized chaos. But the Shrike were learning. Diana saw it in the way their remaining ships started moving. Less reactive, more predictive. They were beginning to understand that human tactics had no pattern, which meant the counter was to abandon pattern-based defense entirely. "They're getting smarter," Dr. Foster warned. "Neural network analysis shows their processing speed increasing. They're adapting to adaptation." Commander Lee's voice crackled over the comm. "Wilson's forward shields are down. We've taken heavy damage to the port side. Still combat effective, but I don't know for how long." Portsmouth was worse. The frigate had taken multiple direct hits. Her engines were failing, and she was drifting without power to half her systems. The Dalrathi had lost 4 more ships. 13 vessels remained, all showing battle damage. They were running out of plasma lance charges. Their shields were cycling slower, taking longer to recharge. And still the Shrike fought on. 27 ships remained from their original 43. They were wounded, confused, but far from defeated. Torin's tactical display updated. The Shrike were changing formation again, this time pulling back into a tight defensive sphere. All weapons pointed outward, all shields overlapping. "They've stopped attacking," Torin observed. "They're protecting their command ship." Diana zoomed in on the center of the sphere. One Shrike vessel, larger than the others, pulsed with brighter green light. Information seemed to flow into it from every direction. "That's the hive mind's central processor," Dr. Foster said, "or at least the local version of it. If we destroy that ship, the others lose coordination." "It's protected by 26 other vessels," Commander Petrick pointed out. "We'd have to go through all of them." "Or around them," Russ said. He had come up to the bridge, covered in hydraulic fluid and looking pleased with himself. "I've been thinking about hive minds. They're efficient because everything connects to everything else, right? But that means if you disrupt the connection, the whole system gets confused." "We've been disrupting their coordination all day," Diana said. "No, we've been disrupting their tactics. I'm talking about disrupting their communication. The green veins on their ships, they're not just power distribution. They're data transfer, bio-optical nerves carrying information at light speed." Dr. Foster caught on immediately. "If we overload those nerves with too much information, we could cause a system crash." "Exactly, and I know how to do it." Russ pulled up a schematic of Big Betty's communication array. "We've been broadcasting standard radio, but what if we broadcast everything? Every frequency, every wavelength all at once? Maximum noise, maximum chaos." "That would fry our communication systems," Diana said. "Yep, but it might also fry theirs, at least temporarily." Torin considered the plan. How long would the disruption last? "No idea. Could be seconds, could be minutes. Depends on how fast they adapt." "Seconds might be enough." Torin opened a channel to all Dalrathi ships. "All vessels, prepare for coordinated strike on the Shrike command ship. Wait for my signal." Commander Lee understood immediately. "Wilson and Portsmouth will provide cover. The cargo vessels will draw defensive fire. You Dalrathi boys make the killing blow." Diana looked at Russ. "Do it." Russ activated the communication array, then overrode every safety protocol that had ever been written. The array was designed to broadcast on specific frequencies at regulated power levels. Now it broadcast on every frequency simultaneously at maximum power. The effect was instant. Big Betty's entire communication system exploded in a shower of sparks. Every radio, every scanner, every display that received signals went dark or started showing static. But on the Shrike ships the green veins flickered, pulsed, then went dark. For exactly 7 seconds the Shrike hive mind was blind and deaf. 27 ships, all trying to coordinate, all suddenly cut off from each other. They drifted, individual vessels uncertain what to do without the hive's guidance. Now Torin commanded. 13 Dalrathi ships fired as one. Lance batteries, fusion torpedoes, and kinetic missiles all targeted the Shrike command vessel. The concentrated fire hit the defensive sphere, which tried to activate shields without coordination. Some shields came up, others did not. Gaps appeared in the defense. The human ships added their fire. Wilson's railguns, Portsmouth's remaining missiles, 3 cargo vessels dumping their final containers of explosives. The Shrike command ship's shields failed under the assault. Its hull cracked. Green blood sprayed into space as organic systems ruptured. The biomechanical vessel shuddered, tried to compensate, then exploded in a brilliant flash of green and white. The other Shrike vessels stopped moving. Without the command ship, without the hive mind's coordination, they were just individual organisms in metal shells. Some tried to run. Some tried to fight. None succeeded. The Dalrathi and human fleets cleaned up the remaining ships with methodical efficiency. It was almost sad, watching the mighty Shrike fleet fall apart like puppets with cut strings. When the last Shrike vessel went dark, a strange silence fell over the battlefield. Nobody spoke. Nobody moved. They just stared at the debris field that had been an unstoppable enemy. Finally, Commander Lee broke the silence. Did we just win? Diana checked her readings. No more Shrike signatures. No more threats. Just a lot of wreckage and a lot of very tired people. Yeah, she said quietly. I think we did. Torin's voice came through, thick with emotion. For the first time in 14 months, we won a battle, not a delaying action, not a strategic retreat, an actual victory. Cheers erupted across the fleet. Human whoops and hollers mixed with Dalrathi celebration calls. Different species, different cultures, all sharing the same relief. But Diana did not cheer. She was looking at her long-range scanner, at the data Dr. Foster had been collecting throughout the battle. Amy, tell me I'm reading this wrong. Dr. Foster studied the data and her expression confirmed Diana's fears. You're not wrong. That wasn't the main Shrike fleet. That was a vanguard force. 3 months after the Battle of Station Harmony, Diana stood in what used to be an empty warehouse on Redstone Colony. Now it was the temporary headquarters for the Combined Defense Initiative. Maps covered every wall. Representatives from 12 human colonies argued with Dalrathi military officers about fleet compositions. In the corner, Dr. Foster explained Shrike biology to a room full of scientists from both species. It was loud, chaotic, and absolutely nothing like a proper military command center. Diana loved it. The main Shrike fleet is here, Torin pointed to a holographic star map. 200 vessels, maybe more. Our intelligence is incomplete. 200, Commander Lee said thoughtfully. He had arrived from Earth 3 weeks ago with actual warships from the Colonial Defense Force. Proper military vessels, not converted cargo haulers, though even the military ships looked ramshackle compared to Dalrathi cruisers. That's a lot. It's impossible, Commander Petrick said. He had survived the first battle with only minor injuries. Now he commanded the Joint Training Program. We barely defeated 43 ships. 200 is suicide. No, Diana said quietly. Everyone turned to look at her. 43 ships defeated us. We didn't beat them with superior numbers or better weapons. We beat them by being unpredictable, by being human. And Dalrathi, Torin added with a slight smile. You forgot the Dalrathi part. Right, sorry. By being human and Dalrathi, which is even better because now we have 2 different species doing unpredictable things. Russ entered the room carrying a tablet. He had been working with Dalrathi engineers for weeks, teaching them what he called creative improvisation and what they called controlled insanity. I've got the fleet numbers, he announced. Earth sent 42 warships. The colonies contributed 63 vessels of various types, from destroyers to armed freighters. The Dalrathi have 89 ships ready for combat. That's 194 total, Petrick calculated. Still fewer than the Shrike. But we have an advantage they don't, Dr. Foster said. She had been quiet during most meetings, preferring to work in her lab. When she spoke, people listened. The Shrike hive mind operates on a network. Cut enough connections and the whole network fails. We proved that at Station Harmony. Cutting one command ship is different from cutting an entire fleet's coordination, Torin observed. True, but we don't need to cut all of it, just enough to create confusion. Dr. Foster pulled up biological scans. I've been studying the Shrike communication system. It's vulnerable to specific electromagnetic frequencies. If we broadcast those frequencies at high power, we can disrupt their neural networks temporarily. How temporarily? Maybe 30 seconds, maybe a minute, enough time to strike hard. Commander Lee grinned. I can work with 30 seconds. Question is, how do we get close enough to broadcast without getting killed? Diana had been thinking about this for weeks. Ever since the battle, ever since she realized the war was far from over, she pulled up her own tactical display. We do what we did before. We make them think they understand us, then we do something else. The Shrike know we use chaos tactics now. They've had 3 months to analyze our battle data and develop counters, so we give them chaos exactly like they expect. But it won't work this time, Petrick said. Right, the chaos will fail, will take heavy losses. They'll think they've adapted successfully. And then, Torin asked, though Diana suspected he already knew. Then we use tactics they've never seen. Dalrathi precision, perfect coordination, mathematical warfare, everything you used to do before you met us. The room went silent. It was Russ who spoke first. That's actually brilliant. They've optimized to counter randomness. They won't be ready for perfect order. We hit them with chaos first, Diana continued. Draw out their defenses. Make them commit to countering unpredictable attacks. Then the Dalrathi fleet strikes with textbook military precision. By the time they adapt to order, we switch back to chaos. Keeping them constantly off balance, Commander Lee said, never giving them time to optimize. Exactly. We fight smart, then stupid, then smart again. We become unpredictable by being too predictable. Torin studied the plan, his expression thoughtful. This requires perfect timing, both fleets working in sequence. No delays, no miscommunication. Which means we need better communication than last time, Diana admitted. Russ destroyed Big Betty's entire comm array. Worth it though, Russ said cheerfully. Dr. Foster had a solution. We've been working on a hybrid communication system. Combines human and Dalrathi technology. It's redundant, inefficient by Dalrathi standards, but nearly impossible to completely disable. Over the next weeks, the combined fleet prepared. Human crews trained with Dalrathi officers, learning the precision formations they had spent millennia perfecting. Dalrathi pilots learned from human instructors how to break every rule, how to improvise, how to trust instinct over calculations. It was strange watching the two species merge. Dalrathi ships got retrofitted with human weapon systems that made no aesthetic sense. Human vessels received Dalrathi shields that were too elegant for their crude hulls. Engineers from both species argued constantly, then went for drinks together afterward. Diana walked through the fleet assembly yard, watching Dalrathi and human technicians working side by side on a destroyer. They were arguing about power distribution, each species certain their method was better. Neither would back down. Eventually, they would compromise and create something neither had imagined before. That was the real weapon, Diana realized. Not the ships or the tactics. The weapon was cooperation. Two species thinking differently, working together, creating solutions that neither could achieve alone. The Shrike hive mind was efficient, optimized, perfect, but perfection was rigid. It could not imagine working with something different, something foreign. The hive mind consumed and converted. It made everything the same. Humanity and the Dalrathi did the opposite. They kept their differences and found strength in them. The fleet launched 3 days later. 194 ships of completely different designs, different technologies, different philosophies of warfare. They should not have worked together. By every logical calculation, they should have been a disaster. But logic was about to meet chaos. Order was about to meet randomness. And the Shrike were about to learn that sometimes the most unpredictable thing in the universe is two species who should have nothing in common deciding to help each other anyway. Diana sat in the captain's chair of her new ship, the Resilience. Russ managed the hybrid engineering systems. Dr. Foster monitored biological scanners. Around them, the combined fleet moved in beautiful disorder toward the Shrike home territory. Torin's voice came over the comm. "All ships report ready. On your command, Captain Walsh." She smiled. 3 months ago, she had been a cargo hauler captain delivering mining equipment. Now she was helping lead an interstellar fleet against a hive-mind empire. Life was weird. "All ships," she said. "Let's go teach these bastards about friendship." The fleet jumped to faster-than-light speed, leaving trails of light in the darkness. Behind them, Station Harmony stood rebuilt and operational. Ahead of them, the Shrike waited, confident in their superiority. They had no idea what was coming.